How does a man work with no internet?
Here we are in Quinlan, Texas, at Ford High School, mental health, suicide prevention, and teen depression. I'm Jeff Yalden, and I'm excited to take you on a journey into the mind of teenagers today, here at Ford High School.
I'm pretty excited to see what Jeff has to offer us, and I think everyone else is too.
You're the person that might save someone's life. Who's the hardest person to get to know? I just looked at my dad and said, Dad, I need...
Hey, I want to ask you, how was the assembly?
It was great.
So I just think it's important that we learn about these things and how often they affect everyday people, and it's really important to get help. I'm glad we had this assembly a lot.
We have award-winning bluebells, we have an award-winning band, which I'm thankful to be part of. I play the clarinet.
You know, teenagers are struggling with so many emotions, and yet they don't know who to turn to, and when they do turn to adults tell them to grow up. Adults tell them, you're young, you don't know what problems are, you don't know what depression is. I mean, what struggles do you have? All they know is all they know. So if we want to teach teenagers about problem solving and coping skills, we need to start teaching them how to deal with what they're dealing with, where and at the time they're dealing with it.
The dual credit program, we have a partnership with Paris Junior College.
Teenagers want a trusted adult in their life, someone that they know cares about them, and someone that they know that they can trust. Believe me, they will open up to you.
So we leave at 7:30. We have classes, we have 3 college classes for each semester.
I'm really proud of my school and the fact that our football team always brings the best to the games. Our cheerleaders always put on their best show. Our theater troupe and our band and bluebells, we're all award-winning, and the fact that 90% of the students, if not all, participate in Pride Days and pep rallies, and they just get so pumped up. You get like that kind of hometown-y nostalgic feel whenever there's a football game Friday night. The whole town comes.
I believe that it's hard to distinguish if one of your friends or peers does have a mental illness just because of how you grew up with them. You've grown used to how they act.
Teenagers want a trusted adult in their life, someone that they know cares about them, and someone that they know that they can trust.
I personally suffer with general and social anxiety, but if you were friends with me and I didn't tell you, you wouldn't really notice it.
Yeah.
When you have something going on in your life, the best thing that you can do is talk to someone. Don't keep it bottled in, because if you keep it bottled in, at some point, it's going to explode. Don't wait to that point. You see, in reality, when we deal with stress on a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 being the most stressful, we want to learn to live our lives between a 2 and a 4, realistically, to be most healthy. But a lot of people live their lives between a 5 and a 7, and that's not healthy. So what we want to do is open our hearts and talk to people to learn how to deal with different things that may happen in our lives, to deal with triggers that bring about different emotions that make us want to react. We want to learn how to respond to different situations so that our stress level and our anxieties can stay between, let's say, 2 and 5. They get up there, how can we bring it back down?
I don't show my symptoms outwardly as much as they are inwardly, so I think that's another reason why mental illness isn't taken so seriously, because people are always like, well, you don't act like it or you don't look like it. It's not always about how you act or how you look, it's about how it feels to you.
Probably wouldn't come to an adult about it. And whenever something happens and it is caused by someone with a mental illness, it's always blamed on the ugly sides of mental illness. No one ever mentions how, because I have ADHD, I'm going to be more productive, I'm going to be more hyperactive, like, towards my work as well as away from it. My boredom can lead to self-harm, because that was something I never expected.
Teenagers need a trusted adult in their life, but they're not going to go to just anybody. If they don't trust you, and if they don't think you care, don't expect them to open their heart.
Why would I tell them about it? And it always came from adults for me. They would always say, "Oh, she talks to her imaginary friends." But when I got older, they started being weirded out by it, and they made fun of me for it. And that's one reason why kids like me and kids like Cheyenne can't go to adults, because they're untrustworthy with our feelings. They just play around with them and they act like it's a big joke when it's something serious for us.
They're not going to go to just anybody. If they don't trust you, and if they don't think you care, don't expect them to open their heart.
My mom found out that I'd been cutting myself and burning myself, and so she came to me and she asked why, and I said, I don't like being left alone because it makes me feel bored. Boredom can lead to a lot of unexplained things, or
Overeating.
yeah, it can lead
Overthinking.
yeah, it can lead to a lot that just kind of snowballs into something more. When I look in the mirror, I don't see a woman as beautiful or as bright as everyone outside might think. Sometimes it'll be physical appearance wise. Maybe I'm too skinny, or maybe my hair will bother me because I like it short but I miss it long. Or sometimes it's just me looking in the mirror, reminding myself of every bad thing I've done, or everything that is wrong with me. It's just not a pretty picture that I would ever hope for anyone to paint. Don't like who I see in the mirror over half the time. She's just not a fine gal, I think. She's kind of awful.
I don't see the kind of person people see me as. And then I got off of my medicine and I started eating more, and I gained 60 pounds. Sometimes whenever I look in the mirror, I just see that I'm fat. It's not all the time. Like the other day, I looked at myself and I'm like, wow, I look really nice. Most of the time it is physical. You know, I have a loving boyfriend who reassures me about that stuff, but it doesn't change the way that I think about myself. It may make me feel good for a little bit.
We need adults that are willing to share their story. Adults that are willing to invest in young people within their communities, that will encourage them to open up their hearts and share their stories, and adults that will inspire them to talk, so that adults can give them tools and tips to be able to work through issues and challenges that they might be dealing with.
Every time I ask that question, I get the same response that you gave me. I think a lot of it is when we're young, at your age, 15, 22 years old, when we look in the mirror, we spend so much time looking at how we look. Very rarely do you find someone who'll spend enough time looking at who they are. And so when you painted your picture, obviously there's a story. I think the first thing we have to be able to do is forgive anyone that's hurt us, forgive ourselves for any position we've put ourselves in. You don't forgive people for them, you do it for yourself. That's when you get to a point where you're like, you know what? I made a bad choice. It could be your virginity. It could be rape. Those are emotional scars that take so long to get rid of. But you can still, with like talking to someone, with counseling, you didn't choose that. So with therapy and counseling, you can make a decision where forgiveness, I didn't choose this, you can take it back. We can't change what happened yesterday. So do you think, would you be this person had you not been through these experiences?
No, definitely not.
When I asked that question this morning, who's the hardest person to get to know? Most people say myself. Recreate that person. You probably weren't expecting this when you came to school today, were
Nope.
you?
Not at all. This is I'll be okay.
I got to talk to two outstanding, beautiful young ladies, and we got to get deep. And sometimes when you talk about emotions, a lot of growth comes as a result of it. So their feelings are the same as many teens' feelings, and I hope what they shared is what maybe as you're watching this, you might be feeling yourself. I applaud these two young ladies for allowing themselves to be vulnerable. I think in the end, it really shows other people that they're not alone in their own thoughts. Don't ever be afraid to ask for help, and know that we can't change our past, and our past brings us to who we are. But as we learn to be aware and to deal with situations in our life, we just always continue to grow as a person.
Let me just say, he's a cool dude. It was really fun, and I kind of wouldn't have traded today for anything else. It's kind of an eye-opener, really, to see that some adults and people do actually give two craps about what's going on in our life. And so, really, you're gonna get the best message possible from this video, and I hope you enjoyed as much as we did. So,
as a guy, you're not really allowed to express your feelings because guys judge you a lot, and everybody.
You know how powerful this is right now when other guys watch this?
Watch a big man child cry in front of the camera.
you're my favorite man child.
I'm your only man child.
You weren't expecting this today either, were you? What'd you get out of this, walking around with your sister and talking about these emotions? What, as a freshman, what did all this teach you? Like, you didn't do this in middle school.
You learn a lot of stuff about people that you didn't know. And they can really change how you view them.
Meaning that we should judge less because we don't know people's story, huh?
Yeah.
And if we did know people's story, we probably wouldn't be so critical of our thoughts and comments of them. You think you and your sister will spend time this weekend talking?
Yeah.
That'll be a good thing, huh? There you have it, my friends. This is just one high school. There's hundreds of thousands of many schools that have very similar kids walking through their halls. We have kids that are hurting. We have kids that are in pain. We have kids right now that are thinking about making that forever decision. That's what breaks my heart. And the bottom line is simply this. Kids are opening up their hearts. And sometimes they need that little push that makes them say, yeah, you know what? I need to talk to somebody. Best thing I've ever done. Lost my ego, I opened my heart, and I asked for help. And I continue to ask for help even today. My friends, don't ever be afraid to ask for help. Help is just right around the corner.